There are people in abusive relationships during times of crisis. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, but sheltering in place is not good for kids and adults in unhealthy environments. And I was that kid, right? My mom and I did not get along. We struggled a lot financially, got evicted a lot. CBS tried to take us from her. My mother, like I say, had been beating me, since forever. And in 11th grade, she swung a broom at me, and I was just tired of getting beat. I was a good kid, but my mom hated her job so much, and she was always angry, right? And I was just tired of getting beat, and I literally moved out and lived with one of my teammates at Elsick High School my senior year. And so college was my freedom. College was my, I don't have to worry about getting beat. College was my, I'm always going to have food because I'm on a full scholarship. You know, college was my, I won't be staying without lights or getting cut off. My only meals of the day were like breakfast and free lunch. Because a lot of athletes, their entire identity is through their athletics. Because even the greatest athletes, their careers end. And so the question for us athletes is, can we transition from sports to the real world, right? So perhaps it's happening sooner rather than later. Sometimes God puts us in a position to make us sit down and be still. All I can say to young people is, in the scheme of things, this is something that you can get through if you practice social distancing. And it's also forcing you to figure out, when my athletic career is over, what am I going to do?
Right. And get comfortable with who they are. Like, really take a minute and reflect on themselves. And
I think the athletes should take the time to figure out what their resumes are, right? Start planning, because I haven't been alive during a pandemic, but I don't know how long this is going to last.
Right? They're saying the Olympics are rescheduled for next July, and with you saying like this could be going on for 18 months, then that would mean that it's a possibility it's not going to happen next July.
That's true as well, but get this, in 1980, the United States boycotted the Olympics. There were people who were sufficiently old where 80 was the last time that they could compete, well, they would be too old, and they trained their lifetime to be in the Olympics and never got the opportunity.
Right.
And, so you're no different than them, right? The opportunity may be lost, but whether the opportunity is lost forever or not, it doesn't, in the scheme of things, it's but a bump in the road. Right.
Right, because like you said, we as athletes have the ability and the gifts to find something else in us that God gave us the ability to do. It's other things, like for you to go ahead from what you've described as being raised in an abusive household, going through an abusive relationship, and still to achieve the success off the track that you have, as an attorney, a successful attorney, as a city councilwoman. Like, how did you take what you learned in athletics and use that in everyday life? Or what was it that put that tenacity in you?
So, as athletes, we know how to push ourselves when we're tired, to push ourselves when we don't want to. And that's what it takes to be successful in life. And what disappoints me a lot related to athletes is they only envision the greatest level of athletic success. And even if you make it to the league, you'll still be broke if you don't manage your money well. The reason I'm alive today is because my grandmother just sort of had this thick sense of when I was desperate, when I was considering suicide. Because my dad killed himself, and I was with my dad when he killed himself. So obviously, suicide is something that I grew up with, and it was very real, and very real alternative. And sometimes I was desperate. I felt I was in despair. But there are literally people who don't have food. There are people who can't afford to pay their rent. There are people who are going to lose everything. That's what I say. Take the time to figure out what your next move is. What if this sticks around for longer than we all think? What are you going to do? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to contribute to your family?
People, like when you talked about the suicide, the thoughts of suicide. So if somebody's experiencing anxiety and stress and they've always used working out or athletics as that form, what suggestions would you have for them? What has helped you with your stress? Managing it.
So I started experiencing tragedy at a very young age. And my dad blew his brains out when I was little, and I was with him when he did it. And my brother was murdered, and my niece died of SIDS. She was 11 months and 15 days. I can tell you, as a kid whose dad killed himself, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And the people that are left behind are going to blame themselves. I mean, I was a kid when my dad killed himself, and I blamed myself. I had nightmares for years, for decades. Even now, I will get sad because I wish I had memory of my father, and that you need to call and talk to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So I did that. I really went to a mental health professional because I cry every day. Depressed. Why did my dad kill himself? Why doesn't my mom love me? Why are we getting evicted? In my mind, I was like, I need to do what I need to do so when I'm a grown up, I don't have to live as a grown up like I was forced to live as a child. And so many people don't have a place to stay, right? If you have a place to stay, consider yourself blessed. Some people don't have food. If you have food where you are, consider yourself blessed. And it's a stressful time for everyone. So this book is called Owning My Shit. And SHIT stands for suffering, hardship, internalizing trauma. So I wrote the book because some people think I'm famous. To me, I'm Jolanda from Third Ward who turned out okay, right? Through hard work and determination. When I was struggling the most, I struggled because I felt sorry for myself. I don't have a daddy. My mother doesn't love me. I hurt myself. I have surgery. My Olympic hopes were dashed, whatever. When I felt sorry for myself, I was just stuck. At some point, my thinking shifted, and I call it shift, that it shifted the paradigm. Rather than feeling sorry for myself for all the things I didn't have or all the mistakes that I made, I thought, you know what? I'm strong as hell. If I can survive this and this and this and this and this, what can you do to me? Right? Like I got molested by my uncle when I was 3 and he was 6'7". I survived that. I talked about it in the book. I survived because my mother had her trauma. She would tell me stuff like she wished I was never born. Her life would be so much better without me. She should have aborted. I don't have a daddy. The one parent I do have is saying very cruel, harsh things because your parents are supposed to love you, right? If I can survive that, there's nothing that I cannot do.
Forward, and I'm talking to women who reach out, who have lost their children, and so many times they're just like feeling so hopeless. And I can relate. I know what it feels like.
So I'll use my sister Chinna, whose daughter died of SIDS. So Jana was 11 months and 15 days, and one day she just died of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. And even with my mom, my brother was murdered. So my mother lost her son. My brother was shot 5 times. And I remember my sister wanted to go be with Ujana. She wanted to go be with her baby. I stayed with her. I watched her every second because I did not know what she was going to do because she was in despair. Even when I think about how it makes me sad. But I just kept telling my sister, it's going to get better. Like, you don't forget about it. Ujana was actually with a caregiver when she died. So, of course, my sister felt really bad, thinking if I would have been there, it wouldn't happen. The truth is, kids die in their parents' arms with SIDS. So when God decides it's time for you to leave, you're going to leave, no matter how much people love you, right? But with my sister, the first thing she did was she started a nonprofit foundation, the Jolanda Jones Foundation for SIDS, for death syndromes. When your child dies, the law enforcement, they think you killed them. So you're grieving your kid and you being investigated for murder at the same time, right? So you have more shit to deal with than just you lost your child. To now, my sister is now in her second or third year of residency as a physician. And so she used her daughter's death to motivate her, because my grandmother lost 3 sons to suicide. My dad and 2 of his brothers committed suicide. My Aunt Donna Kay was murdered. The one thing I learned from my grandmother is that God is not going to give you more than you can handle.
It doesn't give you peace. You know, we keep asking to understand, and that understanding isn't going to give us peace. We have to just make peace, like you said, with the fact that this is the journey that God gave us. And what it sounds like with what your sister's story, and even with you, with all of the adversity that you've overcome, it's kind of like you take the pain. It's not that we're not acknowledging that that pain is real, but you put it into something else. You put it into something else. You put it into something else that is leading you to a purpose bigger than yourself.
Yeah, but that's what it's about. I mean, when I die, I hope people remember that I helped people when I was here, right? Because it doesn't really matter how successful you are if the only person you help is yourself. I think it was a wasted life. It was a useless life. So there are all these things to be thankful for. And quite frankly, I'm not asking myself, like, why is all this stuff happening to you? Sometime in life, you have no control over stuff. Like, you need to figure out what you can and you cannot control.
This is an opportunity for you to take, like, college football players take that red shirt year to develop themselves. Everybody has that year to develop their weaknesses so that they can come out of this stronger and better. When you mentioned before that you have gotten counseling, is that something that you did before your adult years, like when you were young, or is that something that you did after?
So when I got my first job as a lawyer in 1994 or 5, it was one of those years, I actually used my health insurance to go see a psychologist. And she helped me figure stuff out. But I don't think that we should be ashamed to talk about having strong mental health. We are not ashamed to talk about strong physical health. And a lot of times, the thing that stops us is not our ability, it's our mentality. So you need to be strong. And sometimes we don't know, how to deal with stuff, right? People are dying. Okay, so people are dying. So any day above ground, good day.
Right.
Right.
I agree. I wrote a blog about that because a lot of parents were complaining about prom and graduation. And I'm like, people are dying. Like, let's be grateful. Like, I lost my child. So I would give anything to have them back and have them skip graduation and prom. So please, let's put things in perspective and stop complaining. But that's before people realize, now people are starting to see, so some of those same people are losing people that they know. And now it's in perspective, like, okay, this is bigger than a graduation. This is bigger than a prom, and it's bigger than athletics. And like you said, everybody is more than an athlete, something else that they can develop as a talent, as a skill. And this is an opportunity for us to sit back, reflect, take this time of isolation to actually reflect on what else can I do? What else can I come from in this? But if there's something going on mentally, like you said, with the mental health, this is also an opportunity to do, like, reach out to a counselor and do some online or some virtual counseling, get some activities, do some journaling, do some affirmations, read a book like your book that helps you put it in perspective. This is a time for us to work on that mental aspect so that when we can get back to working with people, then maybe we can interact with people and have our social interactions be more productive.
And help as many people along the way as you can. Your athletic career was going to end anyway. So actually, this is preparing you for when it does, like, actually end, right? Like, what are you going to do? Right? What is this making you think, what am I going to do if I can't do athletics? What am I going to do if I don't make the league? What am I going to do if I don't make the circuit? Am I going to, like, hang up, throw my towel down and mope and be poor? Right? No, you're not. You're going to figure out what it is you love and figure out how to make money doing it.
Absolutely. And like you said before, athletics, if there's anything that we've learned from athletics, we've learned all the skills to be successful in life. That's why a lot of jobs, a lot of employers look for people that were athletes because they know they've learned time management. They've learned, realization of achievement, how to set goals and work towards them. So athletes have all the skills to take that and do anything in life that they want to.
I just believe firmly that God is universal, whatever, that we need to slow down.
Right.
Sit down for a minute and figure stuff out. So again, I'm gonna say it one more again. If any day above ground is a good day, young people die. Yeah, they die. Right.
And sometimes suddenly, so like another takeaway from this is spend time and show people how much you appreciate them every day that you're around them, because you never know. Coronavirus is showing us on mass levels that you could be fine, you could look fine, and then a couple days later be gone. And people are complaining, like posting that, when they find out they have it, they can't even say goodbye because they go into immediate quarantine. They can't be with them at their bedside saying those last words. So we got to live our last words every day. Live every day as if, it's the last thing that we want to say to somebody, say it every day. I wish I could go back,
It's interesting because I started experiencing death at an early age. I always tell people I love them when I'm leaving. Yeah, I've experienced death a lot, but it's too much to live for, as far as I'm concerned. So,
and that's the thing that I think a lot of us moms, and I'm shifting it back to the moms, it has something, I don't know, it's finding something to live for. Because like you said, that's why I got kind of emotional when you said your sister, wanted to go and be with her child, because I remember being there, and I have parents every day that's what they're saying. Like they can't find a purpose here, and they don't know what they're living for, and they just want to be with their child. It's such a hard thing to explain, but it's like this pulling on your soul to be with them because they were a part of your soul.
But you know what's a couple of things that brings to mind for me. So the first thing it brings to mind is when my sister was there, we actually got her medication so that she could sleep, because she couldn't sleep, right? And again, I was with her 24/7. She wasn't going nowhere without me. Like, I want to be alone. No, you don't, because I already not under my watch.
Right.
So sometimes they need help from people around them who love them to keep them here, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you again, the people that are left behind, you devastate them.
Right.
Take it from a kid who had a whole bunch of issues because her dad killed himself. But you never get over the loss of your child. I mean, my sister talks about my niece as if she speaks about her present tense. And my sister went on to have 3 more children. She tells people she has 4 children.
Yeah.
She has 3 living.
Yeah.
Her sons were raised to know their big sister.
Yeah.
So everything they do, she's always there in spirit. So my brother-in-law is an artist, so he does a bunch of paintings, and he always draws the family, and Ujana's always in everything.
Yeah.
So I think different people I don't think that there's one way to deal with grief, as domestic violence is at its highest during
tragedies. Yeah.
So I would like to be able to help people get out alive, but also figure out how to get back on track. Yeah. Because my abusive relationship happened. I met my ex in 90. I'd won an 89 championship. I literally didn't defend my title. Right. So I allowed him to take away my Olympic dreams. And it still affects me to this day. Every time I see Coach T, because he'll be like, I was like the greatest athlete that didn't do what they were supposed to, and I can't go back, right? Because I was with my ex from the time I was 24 until the time I was 30. So,
do you think it probably has a lot to do with like the pain and the trauma you experienced in your childhood that you never were able to deal with? So do you think if you had gotten counseling or help with those issues prior to that time, then you might have made a different decision?
For sure. Oh, I absolutely would have made a different decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've rebounded well, right?
Oh, baby, yes. You this is more than a rebound.
But I would still love to have been an Olympic champion, but that just wasn't in the cards for me. But I firmly believe that my missteps um, taught me a lot, and so I'm now able to help people perhaps avoid the same missteps that I had.
Right. I think that right there is big, because this is really why I'm doing these videos for the athletes. I understand, that coronavirus is way bigger than this life, but when you're in that point of despair and grief, you're only, like you said, focused on you and what you're going through. So some of these kids who experience trauma and don't know anything else, they don't know that they're great at other things yet. And it's an opportunity for us to help them heal from that trauma, so that later on in life, this doesn't come back and stop them from other things that might be in their path.
The coronavirus didn't kill my chances. My insecurity, inability to deal with trauma was as deadly as the coronavirus for my hopes and dreams. Try to figure out something.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Jolanda. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing for the community, ongoing, and for everything that you're going to continue to do. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you sharing your story.
Well, thank you. I have one quick question. So, how are you? So, what are you doing to help deal with your tragedy? I'm curious.
It's been a long process. Even it's been a year. Last March 12th made a year, so it's been a little 2 weeks past a year, and I still have my moments. Of course, I try to stay focused on other people. I took my time. I stayed in the bed. I think that I grieved. So like this social isolation isn't really new to me, because I took that time and I just stayed to myself. I was off social media for quite a bit, and even now I don't get on there like I used to. And if I start feeling like what other people are projecting out starts affecting me, then I'll take a step back. I'll get off. I'll go dark for a minute and just go in my cocoon and just work on my healing, because it's a daily process. If I feel like I'm being good, yes, that's why today I said, well, let me go for my walk, get my mind right, because I have to just get out and, connect with the present and stay focused on now, rather than focused on, like you said earlier, what I could have did, because those thoughts will keep coming back in your head. What should I have done? What could I have done differently? And I can't go back and do anything differently. So I just try to keep staying present. I've been doing a lot of meditating, and I've been doing like affirmations. I've been doing yoga. I'm trying to get back into running. I used to run, and it just doesn't give me the enjoyment that I used to get from it. Working out really doesn't as much as it used to. But yoga is something that kind of calms me, and hopefully I'll get back to working out. But I'm really just trying to be, I guess, find like why did God, not looking for why, but knowing that God let me go through this, and that I'm not going to just let it be that I just let this end my life or end my impact on others. I'm going to use it to help other people.
One other thing I thought, but I forgot to tell you, was, again, the whole shifting in the paradigm of how I thought. First, it was like, why me? Why me? God is a bad God. If you don't believe God is a bad God, if you believe God is a good God, then I really believe that the reason that I went through all this stuff was so that I could help people learn how to get out of stuff. I'm convinced of it.
Or when this happened, I remember just asking God, like, I already went through my trial. Why would you put me through another one? Why would you do this to me again when I already proved to you that I was still going to serve you? And so to hear you and all of, it's like, okay, you went through, now you've gone through, a couple of things, but you're still standing strong, and you've gone through, probably 10 things, that could have made somebody want to give up. And looking to people like you, that's probably what's given me the most strength. When this happened, I went and I did like this research project, because it's something that I had students do before. Kids that would go through abuse, I would make them look up like Oprah, Iyanla, people who've survived that kind of thing and still thrived in life. So I stopped and I went and I researched parents who lost kids. I started looking it up, and I saw all these presidents. I saw all of these people that continued on in life and had an impact. So my thing is, I didn't want to just keep living. To me, that would be like almost like death to me if I just lived and just survived this. I didn't want to just survive it. If I was going to have to keep living, my life had to have a meaning. You know, I had to still live a life with purpose, because I don't know how to live any other way. I'm like this person that I've always been giving back and trying to have an impact on others. And now it's like I'm just this lump in the bed. Existing. Yeah. So that's why I kind of feel like it's important for me, even though I'm still going through it. I'm not healed, you know, I'm still going through the process. And when this happened, I still was kind of to myself, I wasn't sharing my journey at all when coronavirus happened. And then I started seeing all these people talk, like, first of all, people who are ungrateful, who were just complaining for no reason. And then I saw people who were going through grief and, you know, stuck in the house, and now they're like in despair, like parents who have lost kids, and they're posting in groups like how this is making their grief worse. Now they're only focused on their kids not being here. They're focused on the absence. And I just said, well, I think that just like I've always shared before, it's important for me to go ahead and share, you know, now. Like you said, your kryptonite became your superpower. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I used to feel like I had a superpower when it was the other instance. This one, I still feel like I'm trying to find my superpower, but I'm okay being vulnerable in the process if it can help somebody else.
Because a lot of people that are going through stuff, they think they're the only person who's gone through it, or they think that they're alone. They think people don't understand, but there are people who are uniquely qualified to help them because they've gotten through the exact same thing. You just have to find those people.
Right. Wow. I appreciate you asking. You made me get out. Girl, Jolanda, thank you so much. You are just a blessing.